Hello, beautiful. Welcome to the She Sacral podcast. I'm your host, Lindsay Christian. Let's go ahead and get started with today's episode. Hello, Sacral Beauty. Welcome to the She Sacral podcast, where we focus on burnout recovery through the power of sacred pleasure. So welcome. Today, we're diving in and we're going to talk about when we start having really odd behaviors in this stage of burnout. So this is when your body really starts to send you some SOS signals. So we definitely want to dive in and figure out what's going on in this stage. So if this is your first time tuning in, then welcome. We've been diving in and talking about the 12 stages of burnout. So if you haven't tuned in and listened to the other stages, be sure to check those out. Now, all the other stages before this are pretty understandable, right? We're really in the space of being stressed out, we're withdrawing, we are trying to prove ourselves, we start to neglect ourselves a little bit, we're even in the space of denial. But here, our behavior starts to shift in ways that don't really feel like you. Maybe you're forgetting things. You're getting really disorganized. Maybe you're checking out with just eating or scrolling or shopping. And these are not laziness changes. These are signals. You're going to learn exactly what's happening behind the scenes in your brain and with your hormones and how you can start to respond and shift out of this stage. Very gently, of course. So what does odd behavior really mean? When you start forgetting simple things or misplacing items, and this becomes a regular basis for you. And I don't mean maybe misplacing your keys one day, but maybe you put your TV remote control in your freezer, or maybe you put socks in the microwave. And it's like, what is going on? This is so strange. You may also become really disorganized in your home, with notes, with your inbox, with your calendar. There's just no organization going on whatsoever. Maybe there's a lot of clutter and you just can't even find anything. You can't function at all. In fact, whatever is reflective in your environment is exactly how you feel on the inside. You may notice overconsumption of food, social media, shopping, or just binge watching your shows all the time, but this is beyond what you normally would do, right? Maybe you normally spend a few hours on social media a day, but you may notice in this stage, you could be on your phone for like 8 to 12 hours. You may notice you are procrastinating more or zoning out, even when something matters to you. And sometimes we can feel like we are sabotaging ourselves, but it's really a form of survival. Your nervous system is crying out for things to be simple for you. It's crying out for safety. So it wants things to just become easier for you. Our brains, our nervous systems, our bodies really prefer things to be very easy. So let's talk about how this stage affects our brain and our hormones, okay? Obviously, cortisol is running the show here, right? And so when we have chronic cortisol, the prefrontal cortex of your brain, which is the part of your brain that is focused on planning and memory, that actually starts to slow down. Now, this actually happened to me, and it felt so weird. I felt like, do I have dementia or something? Like, what is going on? Why can't I remember anything? And I remember that I had a hard time with numbers and dates and times. And so, for instance, maybe I had a doctor's appointment that was for July 5th at noon. Well, my brain would actually move the numbers around. And at the time I acknowledged the appointment, I set the appointment, but my brain had switched the numbers around so much that I really believed that my doctor's appointment was for July 12th at 5 p.m. You see how that happens? And so I remember just getting so upset, like, I can't remember anything. I'm switching things around and this feels really unsettling for me. And it was hard for me to really work. I would constantly get my manager to say like, hey, is this going out? Did you send this email? Did you do this? Did you do that? I'm like, wait, what? Like, huh? I thought I did that already. So it just became really hard, and it can feel really embarrassing when your memory is just not as sharp and people are like, are you okay? Like, what's wrong? If you've experienced this, at least now you know what's going on, that your cortisol level is just chronically high and it's actually affecting your brain. Now, when it comes to hormones, your dopamine starts to get dysregulated. So this is when we start to have no motivation for anything, and the feeling of reward feels really distant. Normally, when you would go to do something and you complete it, you feel good, right? It's like, yes, I did it. But now in this stage, you can do something and you don't feel any reward. You don't feel good after you complete something, or even get enough motivation to even start the thing to complete. Your circadian rhythm can get really out of whack during the stage as well. So you can experience a lot of poor sleep, low energy, and your thinking can get really foggy. And for a lot of women, especially even in our cyclical nature, during the luteal phase, we can actually start to become more foggy in our brain as well, because our estrogen level starts to dip, which also affects our memory as well. So if you're experiencing burnout and you're going through your cycle and you're in your luteal phase, that is just such a whirlwind time of almost 2 weeks of just feeling really, really off. So if that resonates with you, definitely know you're not crazy. You're not alone. There's a lot of women that feel this way, and I would love to support you in the She Sacral community of like-minded women that are also going through burnout, where we can really just support each other. We can really focus on coming back home to ourselves and feeling good in our bodies, minds, and energy. So just click the link down below to get started, and I will tell you a lot more. And again, going back to, feeling that sense of embarrassment, you could feel ashamed of just feeling like you can't stay on top of things. You feel like you're failing a little bit. Like, why can't I stay on top of stuff? I feel so disconnected. And I don't feel disconnected in the sense that I'm just not here. I feel like I am just on another planet and I don't even know what planet this is. Like, it just feels so disorienting. And so your brain is not failing. It's trying to reroute your power to survive. And it's trying to protect you from burnout by kind of downshifting a little bit. So it's really deprioritizing the little things. And while it could be embarrassing, we could feel this sense of shame for not staying on top of ourselves, on top of the things that we normally do. Your brain is not seeing that as something that's really important. It's really focusing on keeping you alive, to be able to function, to take care of your vitals. It's really not caring about your appointments or, the things that are important to you on a personal level. It's really trying to take care of your body. So this is all what survival looks like. And I don't think a lot of people realize how deep it can really go. And as I said before, you've got the thing that's burning you out, but then you've got life on top of it. And sometimes it's just all so much. And so you're overloaded and your brain is just responding to a chronic energy crisis. It's responding to saying, we are so depleted right now. This is the best I can do for you in this moment. And it's awful. Such an awful feeling. All right, so let's start to find some ways to shift the energy when we're in this stage. So number one, I want you to definitely create a second brain for yourself, okay? Trying to hold it all in mentally is too much. So we want to take some time to maybe use a planner or use a calendar or use something that has a lot of reminders for you, that lets you know what's coming up, so that you don't even have to rely on your own brain to remember certain things. So that can be really helpful. But taking some time in the mornings to just do a little grounding, maybe have some warm tea. I absolutely love all the teas from Haya Herbs, but I especially love the Passion Potion tea. Even though it's for kind of boosting libido, it actually just helps me feel really calm, but really good in my body before I start my day. So I actually enjoy doing that. And I'll leave a link down in the comments and the description. You can check out Haya Herbs. She's so amazing. The herbs are so aromatic. They smell amazing. They're so fresh, and they are ethically sourced. So if you are a tea girly, then that's definitely one I would recommend. And then in the evening, you could do a nice little close, maybe do a little 5-minute tidy, just kind of keeping things taken care of without overwhelming yourself. And if you want to just make one little commitment to yourself every day, maybe it's a digital detox hour, or maybe it's just wearing a soft robe for a little bit, or smelling some essential oils, just something, just one little ritual that keeps you nice and grounded per day that you could do every day is going to be really helpful. That's going to start to create that feeling of routine, which can help you to feel more like yourself again. So routines are really, really helpful and important. But sometimes when we're in this stage of burnout, trying to adopt a new routine just is too much. It's way too much, right? And you can feel really frustrated with yourself because you could see all of these, influencers that are like, I get up at 5 a.m. and I do this and I do that. Here's my routine. Here's my $1 million routine, my morning routine, my evening routine. And it's like, whoa, like if you're in this space, that's just way, way too much. Your brain is going to be like, girl, I'm going on strike. Do not ask me to do anything else. And so you could just kind of just take this time to ask yourself, what's feeling chaotic to you? And what would help to soothe that chaos without the need to feel perfect? So know that burnout is so deep and it shifts how your brain and your body functions, but you can begin to rebuild that trust just by doing one small sacred habit at a time. And so even though you may experience some odd behavior or loss of memory during this stage, this is not you. Okay, this is not your identity. This is just kind of a little smoke signal your brain is sending you to say, hey, hello, remember us? Yeah, we're really off track right now, and I want to get back to who we really are. So can we please rest? That's what that's saying. Okay. All right. Well, that completes our episode for today. Of course, we still have 4 more stages to get through. And the next stage is depersonalization, where we actually start to break down our sense of identity. So definitely stay tuned for that, as that's coming up next. Thank yourself so much for showing up today, and thank you for tuning in to the She Sacral podcast.